This happened to me on spring break sometime around maybe 2014. I was about 15 years old, and this was obviously the most weirdest encounter I've ever had. Now, to cut to the chase, there was this one luxurious hotel that the Youth in Action camp goes to, well, basically during March break. We usually go there and we stay there from Wednesday and then have our parents pick us up on Friday. Now, the first day we got there, it was beautiful. You could definitely say that it looked really expensive to cheap to live in if you were to, well, book a vacation. But I was lucky I didn't have to pay that much. I only had to pay maybe about $200. Wasn't really bad for a hotel that is this luxurious. Now, it had a lounge area which was not far from the dining area and the kitchen. So, after dinner, which we all had was spaghetti, I was in the lounge area with a few of my friends and we were talking and doing some fun activities. Obviously, it was a game night, so we played some board games and sometimes we played freeze dance and etc. I was playing on a board game by the couch, which of course I was playing with a bunch of my friends, and they were really enjoying it. As I was playing though, however, I looked up to see that there was a man I'd never seen before. This man looked like maybe he was homeless, maybe he was in his 40s or something, but I didn't think much of it, and just continued to do my usual thing. As I was doing my usual thing, I all of a sudden looked up to see the man standing not far from one of the couches. I kind of looked awkward, saying that he wasn't anybody from the camp that I was in, but I thought maybe he was just maybe either a custodian or possibly maybe one of the workers. He said, "Hey there, how are you doing?" I told him that I was doing fine and asked him why he was here. "Oh, I'm just staying here for at least a few days with you guys." Well, that was kind of odd. He didn't look like a counselor or anything. So I didn't want to tell anyone about this, as I was afraid it was going to be not good. However, it wasn't until at least a few minutes later, or at least at the middle of the night while I was sleeping, I heard a tap on my window. I woke up to it and turned around, but I couldn't see it yet as it was covered by the curtain. I heard tap again on the window, but this time it was aggressive. Now I was starting to get freaked out. Of course, my friend woke up all of a sudden. Her name was Lynn, and she asked me what the hell was outside going on. I told her that we needed to go get somebody, so we left the area, left our hotel room, but of course, we left the hotel room and we went down to the front desk and let them know about the mysterious person. And they said they could look at the room. Security came in and checked the room, but they didn't find anybody in there, and they said that they would be on the lookout at the night. About this man, I have no idea why he was in the hotel room. I had a feeling that he might have had planned something, but I certainly don't want to know what he was planning on doing. I still have not seen him since then, but I'm really glad that it's staying that way. I really hope the cops do find him soon. And hopefully he'll get what's coming to him. So this happened sometime maybe to my good friends who were my friends at the time. We'll call the woman named Maggie, and we'll call the boy named Ron. Ron and Maggie were taking a spring vacation during March break sometime in 2015. Now they were going to Florida and spend at least a few weeks there, as they were spending at least 1 week in Florida, while the other week they go to the Bahamas for the rest of 2 weeks. Now, as they were at Florida, they were at a nice, pretty resort, which was pretty nice as it had palm trees and etc. They had a pretty nice set of pools and stuff, so Maggie and Ron were doing very well at their vacation. However, after this story, they really didn't go too many vacations after this incident. Now, to cut to the chase, Maggie and Ron got there during midday of maybe be on Monday when they were driving down to Florida. They drove down to Florida as they really think that driving down was cheaper than flying, which it is, but the thing is though, you would have to stop and get some gas and road trips and etc., which it can be a pain, but it is worth it at the end. Now, Maggie and Ron were getting settled in their hotel, and after they got settled in, they decided to go swimming at the hotel's beach. They got on their bathing suits and decided to go for a swim, and as they went for a swim, they all of a sudden looked over to see that there was a man they had not seen before. Now, there was a few people in the area, but since it was around dinner time, the pool wasn't really busy as a lot of people would eat around dinner at the time. So there were like a few people there, maybe just a parent with a few kids and some old couple. So Maggie and Ron went over to a pool that didn't have anybody in there, as they sometimes like to splash around, but didn't want to splash on anyone else in case if they would piss them off. Now this man was walking over towards them, and Maggie was quite confused on why was this guy walking towards them, thinking maybe he was just some lifeguard, but he didn't resemble as a lifeguard. He just simply walked around the pool. But of course, they didn't think much of it, and they continued to go swimming. However, it wasn't long until Ron noticed that there was a handgun sticking out of the guy's pocket when he turned around, not facing them. Of course, Ron and Maggie had to go tell the security and let them know about this man. They got out of the pool and went over, but as they were going over to the security guard, the man opened fire, nearly hitting them. They didn't get hit by the bullet, but they ended up running away from the pool and ended up going down to the security at the receptionist's office. They alert them about someone in the pool holding a gun. Security and along with police were called, but as they expected, the man was nowhere to be seen. All they found was his handgun that was inside one of the pools that the officers got. The pool was closed for the rest of the night as they had some investigation. About who this man was, Maggie and Ron had no idea who this man really was and why he had the gun. But all they could sense with this gun was that something was not good. This happened to my mom at Disney World when she was about 13 years old, and I think she's quite startled when she, hears about this. She was in Florida, and back then, she and her family were going to Walt Disney World to spend at least some time there. Disney World was a must-to-go-to place if you're a fan of Disney, although it is very expensive, so you would want to save up a lot of money to go to Disney World. Now, at the time of the story, my mom was 13 and she really enjoyed going to Disney World. She was going there with her two brothers, which are my uncles, and even her parents, aka my grandparents. Now, when they arrived at Disney World, they ended up going inside through Cinderella's castle, where there's lots of rides and other fun Disney attractions to go to. Of course, it has been a long time since my mom went to Disney World, so her mind might be a bit foggy a bit. When they got to the first hotel of the Disney World place, they were getting settled in when all of a sudden they looked to see that there was somebody or something going on. Now, when there's something or something going on, the weirdest thing my mom could say was that she was in the bathroom when she was hearing some tapping on the mirror. Obviously, she didn't see anyone, and she knew it wasn't her, but she had no idea who was making the tapping noises. So, with that said, she alerted my nana and granddad, aka her parents, but they of course think maybe it was just her imagination. But it wasn't until her mom ended up hearing the same tapping on the window too, and had no idea what was going on. Of course, they alerted the front desk about it, and the front desk receptionist woman said something that that we weren't expecting. Oh, there was a murder in that room maybe sometime 2 years ago. I think maybe it might have been a young woman who was killed by her husband or boyfriend, the receptionist said. And as of that, My mom had no idea what it was, but she brushed it off, not believing in anything paranormal. It wasn't until at nighttime, when she was getting ready for bed, when she turned on her light. When she turned on the lights of the bathroom to look in the mirror, she could see a young woman staring at her from the mirror, and it was from behind her. But when my mom looked, she couldn't see the woman anymore, and the woman was no longer on the mirror. My mom had no idea what that was, but she believed what she saw was completely paranormal. My friend named Melissa obviously remembered this story to this day, and this happened to her sometime in 2018. It was during spring break, and with that said, she was living in Georgia at the time of this story, as spring break means that school was off for a week, and she wouldn't have to worry about school for a whole week. With that said, Melissa was a adventurous type, and she liked to go on adventures. She lived in not far from a bayou, aka a swampy-like area, where she knew a few people who lived in the area. Now, to be completely honest, there was this one abandoned place that used to belong to an old man, aka her great-grandfather, as he was still healthy and well back then. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017 due to natural causes. The place had been abandoned, and nobody had even bothered to buy the place or even renovate it for someone else into a cabin. To be honest, Melissa really still thinks back on this when she does. Now, she, along with her friend, which we'll call him Mitchell, were going for a walk in the bayou in the trail. There was a trail that goes by the bayou and even goes through it too, so they were going through the bayou trail when all of a sudden they saw the house in the distance with the outhouse and stuff. Of course, it was her grandfather's house back when he used to live there, and of course, her grandfather, along with her dad, used to live in that house a long time ago. So, with that said, Melissa and Mitchell decided to see if anybody had broken in there, as it's most likely the case due to the teenagers like to snoop around and even trash places when they were vacant. So Melissa and Mitchell headed towards that direction, not even thinking anything of it. They were exploring the little shack, which included a small kitchen and a bedroom and even a little living area. The outhouse was outside, but since with that being the case, they were snooping around and looking around the whole place, and it was just the way it was, except there was some broken glass and even some graffiti on the walls. It wasn't very surprising, but it wasn't long until Mitchell and Melissa could hear something walking in the tree line. They were thinking that it might have been maybe some other hikers, but they couldn't see them as they were far away. But they could see is something, like some sort of shadow or something, walking through the tree line. It was hard to see, but they had no idea what it was. In Mitchell's point of view, it could have been a bear or maybe possibly some other animals wandering around, so they stayed put in that little shack for a while, not even going out for anything. They stayed hidden very well, but watching the windows, and they stayed there what seemed to be like minutes. All of a sudden they heard a roar in the distance, as the footprints and even the twigs and branches snapping stopped when they got farther away. Melissa and Mitchell got up to see if anyone was out there, but they couldn't find anybody. But they had no idea what that creature was. They headed back the way they came and never went back into the bayou for any reason again. They still wonder to this day what was that creature and if it really didn't want anyone there. Why was it not seeing them? That still floods Melissa to this very day, and she's still not sure if that place, if her great-grandfather's shack had been taken down or not. Most likely it might have just been still there, but covered in vines or something. But since that day, Melissa's never went back there, and she doesn't want to return to find out who was that creature near in the bayou.